June 28, 2014, 2014 FIFA World Cup, Colombia versus Uruguay. And then, magic happened. James Rodriguez controlled the ball with his chest outside the box, turned, and smashed one of the greatest goals in World Cup history straight into the top corner. A moment so iconic that it instantly became immortal. And now, James Rodriguez is back. And so are Colombia, because the Copa America runners-up are arriving at this World Cup with something extremely dangerous: belief. This is the same Colombia side that went 28 matches unbeaten, the same team that defeated Brazil, beat Argentina, and humiliated Chile during World Cup qualifying. And honestly, they genuinely have the talent to make history, because Luis Diaz arrives at the World Cup after producing the best season of his European career. In his first Bundesliga campaign with Bayern Munich, Diaz exploded with 26 goals and 17 assists, instantly becoming one of the most important players in the squad. But he is not the only Colombian striker arriving on fire. Luis Javier Suarez became the top scorer in Portugal with Sporting, scoring 28 league goals and finishing his debut season with 38 goals across all competitions. And if you add John Cordoba and Cucho Hernandez to this attack, you just know opponents are going to suffer. But this Colombia side is not only about attacking football. Camilo Vargas is a complete walling goal, while Davinson Sanchez and John Lucumi are monsters both defensively and offensively. Then in midfield you have Richard Rios, the trusted midfielder of Jose Mourinho's unbeaten Benfica side, surrounded by the Colombian stars of the Paulista Championship like John Arias and Jorge Carrascal. This team has weapons everywhere, but that is still not everything. Then there is Daniel Munoz, a fullback with genuine Premier League quality who has become fundamental for Crystal Palace. But above everyone else stands James Rodriguez, the soul of Colombia, the endless source of creativity and personality for this generation. And yes, many people are starting to say this Colombia side is declining.
El partido pasado ya lo vimos, ya lo analizamos. Ahora es una situación más complicada porque jugamos mal. Jugamos mal, no, jugamos muy mal.
But international football does not always work like that, mate. Some national teams wake up during major tournaments. Some players transform completely once the pressure and emotion of knockout football arrives. And this generation already proved they belong among the elite by reaching the Copa America final. Sure, there are debates around the squad selection. Sure, many fans believe the manager has been stubborn with certain decisions and left important players out. But these players have something statistics cannot always explain: soul. Don't believe it? Take a look at this. To truly understand the heart of this Colombia national football team side and why they can never be ruled out at a World Cup, you need to understand their history first. Colombia's World Cup journey began at the 1962 FIFA World Cup in Chile. In their debut match, they lost 2-1 to Uruguay national football team, with Francisco Zuluaga scoring Colombia's first ever World Cup goal. But the legendary moment came against the reigning European champions, the Soviet Union led by the iconic goalkeeper Lev Yashin. Colombia, coached by Adolfo Pedernera, were losing 3-0 after only 11 minutes before German Aceros reduced the deficit. The Soviets later made it 4-1, but then history happened. Marcos Cole scored directly from a corner kick against Yashin, the only Olympic goal ever scored in World Cup history. Inspired by that moment, Colombia completed an incredible comeback through Antonio Rada and Marino Klinger to secure a historic 4-4 draw. Although Colombia were later eliminated after losing 5-0 to Yugoslavia national football team, the country had already created its first great footballing myth. Almost 30 years later, Colombia returned at the 1990 FIFA World Cup in Italy, with a golden generation emerging under Francisco Maturana. Their first ever World Cup victory came against United Arab Emirates thanks to goals from Bernardo Redin and Carlos Valderrama. After losing 1-0 to Yugoslavia, Colombia faced eventual champions Germany in one of the most iconic matches in Colombian football history. Germany led late through Pierre Littbarski before Colombia produced an unforgettable move involving Leonel Alvarez, Valderrama and Freddy Rincon, with Rincon scoring through the legs of Bodo Illgner in stoppage time for a dramatic 1-1 draw that sent Colombia through as one of the best third-place teams. In the round of 16, Colombia lost 2-1 to Cameroon national football team in the match remembered for René Higuita's mistake outside the box before Roger Milla scored twice. At the 1994 FIFA World Cup in the United States, Colombia arrived as one of the favourites after the legendary 5-0 victory over Argentina during qualifying. However, they never found their best form. They lost 3-1 to Romania, and then suffered a painful 2-1 defeat to United States men's in the match forever remembered because of the own goal by Andres Escobar. Colombia defeated Switzerland 2-0 in the final group game through goals from Carepa Gaviria and Harold Lozano. But it was not enough, and they finished bottom of the group. At the 1998 FIFA World Cup in France, the legendary 1990s generation played its final World Cup under Hernán Darío Gómez. Colombia qualified for a third consecutive World Cup for the first time ever, but losses to Romania and England ended their campaign despite a win over Tunisia through a goal from Laida Preciado. That match against England is remembered for the tears of Farid Mondragon after goals from Darren Anderton and a brilliant free kick by David Beckham. It was also the final World Cup for legends like Valderrama, Rincon, Faustino Asprilla, El Tren Valencia, Victor Aristizabal, and Anthony de Avila. After that tournament, Colombia disappeared from the World Cup for 16 years. But when they finally returned, they brought one of the most talented generations in their history. Colombia's 16-year absence from the World Cup finally ended under José Pekerman at the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. Despite missing their biggest star, Radamel Falcao, because of a serious ligament injury, Colombia produced the greatest World Cup campaign in the nation's history. That squad included players like David Ospina, Juan Camilo Zúñiga, Mario Yepes, Pablo Armero, Carlos Sanchez, Freddy Guarín, Juan Cuadrado, James Rodriguez, Teófilo Gutiérrez, Jackson Martinez, and Juan Fernando Quintero. With Falcao absent, James Rodriguez became the leader of the attack and finished the tournament as one of the best players in the world, winning the Golden Boot with 6 goals. In Group C, Colombia defeated Greece national football team 3-0 through goals from Armero, Teófilo Gutiérrez and James, then beat Ivory Coast national football team 2-1 with goals from James and Quintero. Colombia completed a perfect group stage by destroying Japan national football team 4-1 thanks to Cuadrado, a Jackson Martinez brace, and another James goal. In the round of 16 against Uruguay at the Maracana, James Rodriguez produced one of the greatest performances in Colombian football history. He scored twice, including the unforgettable chest control volley against Fernando Muslera that became the goal of the tournament and one of the greatest goals ever scored at a World Cup. Colombia's historic run ended in the quarter-finals against Brazil after controversial refereeing from Carlos Velasco Carballo. Goals from Thiago Silva and David Luiz gave Brazil a 2-1 victory, while James scored Colombia's only goal from the penalty spot. After the tournament, FIFA awarded Colombia the Fair Play Trophy. At the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia, Pekerman guided Colombia to a second consecutive qualification, and this time Falcao returned as the nation's all-time top scorer. However, the campaign started badly against Japan after an early red card for Carlos Sanchez before Colombia lost 2-1. One of the best matches in Colombia's history came against Poland. With James, Quintero, Cuadrado and Falcao all attacking together, Colombia played sensational football. James assisted Yerry Mina for the opener. Quintero assisted Falcao for one of the most emotional goals in Colombian history, and James later produced another brilliant assist for Cuadrado to complete a stunning 3-0 victory. Colombia reached the round of 16 after defeating Senegal through another powerful header from Yerry Mina. Then came the painful elimination against England. James Rodriguez missed the match through injury, while Harry Kane gave England the lead from the penalty spot. Just when Colombia seemed eliminated, Yerry Mina scored another dramatic header in stoppage time to force extra time. The match eventually went to penalties, where Colombia suffered heartbreak. Although Ospina saved Jordan Henderson's penalty, misses from Matheus Uribe and Carlos Bacca ended Colombia's World Cup dream in devastating fashion. The Colombia national football team of Nestor Lorenzo is genuinely serious. Between March 2022 and July 2024, Colombia built a historic 28-match, unbeaten run, surpassing the legendary streak from the era of Francisco Maturana. Although the run technically began under Reynaldo Rueda, the real tactical identity of the team was created by Lorenzo, and Colombia did not dominate in a simple way. In the toughest qualifiers on the planet, CONMEBOL qualifying, they became one of South America's strongest sides. Colombia finished as the second highest scoring team with 28 goals in 18 matches, while Luis Diaz ended the campaign with 7 goals, his best ever qualifying return. The creativity of the team was even more terrifying. James Rodriguez and Luis Diaz both finished with 10 direct goal contributions, while James ranked second only behind Lionel Messi in the entire continent. Colombia also averaged 9.9 key passes per match, the highest in all of South America, ahead of Argentina and Brazil. And along the way, they produced historic results. Colombia defeated Brazil 2-1 for the first time ever in World Cup qualifying history, with Luis Diaz scoring an emotional headed brace during the difficult period surrounding the kidnapping of his father. They also defeated world champions Argentina 2-1 in Barranquilla after goals from Yerson Mosquera and James Rodriguez from the penalty spot. Colombia then humiliated Chile through goals from Davinson Sanchez, Luis Diaz, Yon Chada Duran, and Luis Sinisterra. James Rodriguez also produced a huge performance against Bolivia, scoring the opener before Colombia secured qualification for the 2026 World Cup. In that same period, Luis Javier Suarez scored 4 goals against Venezuela, becoming the first player to score a poker in CONMEBOL qualifying since Luis Suarez did it in 2011. Outside South America, Colombia also achieved major victories. They defeated Germany in Europe for the first time ever, beat Spain in London shortly before Spain won Euro 2024, and recently humiliated Mexico 4-0. But the moment the world truly understood Colombia came during the 2024 Copa America. Against Brazil, Colombia pressed aggressively, dominated possession through Richard Rios and Jefferson Lerma, controlled the rhythm through James Rodriguez, and arguably deserved to win comfortably. Daniel Munoz eventually scored after an assist from John Cordoba, while Colombia tactically outplayed Brazil for almost the entire match. Then came the destruction of Panama. John Cordoba opened the scoring from a James corner. James scored from the penalty spot. Luis Diaz chipped the goalkeeper beautifully. Richard Rios added another goal from distance, and Miguel Angel Borja completed the 5-0 humiliation. James Rodriguez produced one of the best individual displays of the tournament, with 1 goal and 2 assists. The semi-final against Uruguay proved something even more dangerous about this Colombia side. They know how to survive difficult moments. Jefferson Lerma scored from a James assist before Daniel Munoz was sent off. Colombia then defended for an entire half with 10 men and still survived thanks to heroic performances from Davinson Sanchez and Carlos Cuesta, while even missing chances to score another goal through Mateus Uribe. So after seeing all of this, mate, you realise Colombia are dangerous for 2 reasons. First, what they achieved in Brazil 2014 and in the recent Copa America was not luck. And second, this generation possesses very special talent. The Colombia national football team of Nestor Lorenzo arrives at the World Cup with the mission of producing the greatest tournament in Colombian football history. And honestly, they genuinely have the talent to do it. In goal, the spot belongs to Camilo Vargas. The Atlas goalkeeper spent the season practically saving his team every single week in Mexico. He played 33 of 36 matches, conceded 52 goals, and still managed 9 clean sheets. This will be his 3rd World Cup, and potentially his first as Colombia's undisputed starter. Alongside him comes legendary goalkeeper David Ospina, the player with the most appearances in Colombia's history, included largely because of his leadership and legacy. Defensively, Colombia possessed several interesting profiles. Daniel Munoz arrives after winning the FA Cup and the Community Shield with Crystal Palace, and potentially the UEFA Conference League as well. Across 45 matches, he produced 5 goals and 4 assists while remaining one of Colombia's most dangerous wide players. At centre-back, Davinson Sanchez arrives after winning the Turkish league with Galatasaray. He played 45 matches, scored twice, including against Juventus FC, and established himself as the defensive leader under Lorenzo. Most likely partnering him will be John Lukumi, known for his aerial strength, defensive positioning, and clean build-up play. As a starter for Bologna, he played 43 matches and consistently delivered solid performances. At left-back, Johan Mojica endured relegation with Mallorca, but still produced 6 assists in 35 matches and remains one of South America's most explosive fullbacks, especially linking with Luis Diaz. Colombia also possessed depth through Willer Dita, who became champion with Cruz Azul, Deiva Machado at Nantes, and Yerry Mina, who despite injuries still became a defensive leader for Cagliari Calcio. In midfield, Jefferson Lerma will lead the defensive structure after playing 48 matches and providing 6 assists for Crystal Palace. But the midfielder everyone should watch is Richard Rios. He has become one of Colombia's most complete and combative players, offering creativity, line-breaking passes, and defensive intensity. He won the Portuguese Super Cup, played 45 matches, scored 8 goals, and delivered 6 assists while becoming fundamental for Jose Mourinho during an unbeaten campaign. His performances have even linked him with Manchester United. Still, the emotional and tactical leader of the midfield remains James Rodriguez. His vision, technique, and calmness are vital for Colombia, especially in a team that attacks vertically and can become exposed in transitions. James remains decisive through set pieces, long-range shooting, and creativity.
This is fiddled through for Richarlison!
He was fundamental during both qualifying and the Copa America. Although his time in the United States with Minnesota United FC was not spectacular with only 8 matches and 2 assists, his recent performances showed clear improvement. The midfield is completed by important Brazilian-based players. John Arias became a starter again with Palmeiras, helping them win the Paulista Championship while recording 4 goals and 2 assists in 24 matches. Jorge Carrascal became an important starter for Flamengo, contributing 3 goals and 4 assists across 29 matches while helping the club compete for titles. Meanwhile, Juan Camilo Portilla earned his place in the squad after a very consistent season with Atlético Paranaense. And beyond the starters, Colombia still possess fascinating profiles like Gustavo Puerta after promotion with Racing de Santander, plus the creativity of Juan Fernando Quintero and Kevin Castaño, giving Colombia one of the deepest and most talented squads they have had in years. As Ancelotti said,
Ahora bien lo bonito.
Without any doubt, Luis Diaz is currently the best Colombian footballer on the planet. In his first season with Bayern Munich, he already won 3 trophies, reached the Champions League semi-finals, and finished the campaign with 26 goals and 23 assists across 51 matches. He won the Bundesliga, the German Super Cup, and the German Cup,
Here they come again, Diaz. Oh, what a turn!
while becoming one of the best players in Europe through his explosive dribbling, pace, creativity, and goals. His performances against Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, and Atalanta pushed him directly into the Ballon d'Or conversation, and most of Colombia's attack at the World Cup will depend on him. Another Colombian enjoying an unbelievable season is Luis Javier Suarez. With Sporting, he played 53 matches, scored 38 goals, and delivered 9 assists while reaching the Champions League quarter-finals and finishing runner-up in both the Portuguese Cup and Super Cup. He destroyed elite teams like PSG, Napoli, and Bodo Glimt. Finished as Portugal's top scorer and arrives with terrifying momentum, especially after scoring 4 goals against Venezuela. Honestly, mate, the Diaz-Suarez partnership is one of the most dangerous attacking duos in the entire World Cup. But Colombia's goal-scoring power does not stop there. John Cordoba finished as the top scorer in Russia with 17 league goals. Although his club finished second and lost both the Russian Cup and Super Cup finals, Cordoba still produced 22 goals and 10 assists in 41 matches. He remains a natural goal scorer, as shown by his goals against Costa Rica, Panama, Bolivia, and Venezuela. And Colombia's attacking depth continues with Cucho Hernandez, who returned to Europe and arrives at the World Cup after a strong season with Real Betis in La Liga. His speed, dribbling and finishing make him one of Colombia's most explosive attacking options, and his goal against Real Madrid proved his level. So yes, mate, think carefully about this Colombia squad. Think about the recent history. Think about the combination of youth, momentum and experience. This is a team that already knows how to survive and compete in short tournaments like a World Cup. Sure, there are still debates around Nestor Lorenzo because many fans believe he was stubborn for leaving out Hugo Rodallega. There are also doubts after losses against Croatian national football team and France's B team. But the World Cup is different, and Colombia have already shown they become dangerous when the pressure rises. So remember this, America belongs to the Americans, and nobody should sleep on Colombia at this World Cup.